Shirley here with Sirius Dallas Moon. This is all our Saturn day, and the moon is 29 degrees Taurus, honorific degree Taurus. Um, it is applying to conjunct to Sedna and Uranus. And the reason I don't pick up my talismanic material to do a Uranus in Gemini talisman, from my place, Mercury is in the 8th house, and on a personal chart level, it's just not touching on a point that I enjoy too much. But if it is in another election, that I would totally say, Falcon, go for it, make a Urano-Gemini Sedna. But before I say go for it, please study Sedna thoroughly and look at my Spirit of Matter on YouTube, Rockefeller Astro Leaks on Beetroot, and Sirius Jupiter point of Dallas on Beetroot, before you do any Sedna work. Okay, so there's a lot on Sedna, and yeah, I want to talk about debt, because it's going to be a hot topic. I previously talked about the fact that when it comes to why people blamed, for example, the Jews for both Bolshevism, capitalism, and all these things have to do with the fact that they funded both sides. Okay, and the greatest complaints against these Jewish bankers was that they were doing loan with interest. Now, they haven't invented that, but also, when you think about loaning money, first of all, I want you to know that there are rights, there are limits to what can be done to a person if they are in debt. Okay, and this is because, yes, if person has nothing to lose, then they will go and make a bombing in the bank and whatever, and then the competitor to the bank wants to bomb the bank, that person drops the bomb and say, oh, we cut the dividends and salamat, okay, because they go to do what? Crime. But if there is a limit to what we can do to a person that is in debt, we basically preserve a situation where people can take a loan, pay back the loan, but if they really genuinely can't pay the loan, they're also not subjected to enslavement and so on and so forth. And so money laundering, which is, or any type of laundering of assets, okay? When you think about it, you work for a company and develop a patent, okay? You have the rights over the patent. If not, then you're not working for a company. Okay, that's very important. But as well, there are the dividends for the company that provided you with the environment where you could do the research to develop the patent. And then, if you do some things for the company, then you get some salary and so on and so forth. But when it comes to the patent, okay, that's your patent. The company that asks you to give away your patent is not looking to hire you. It's looking to enslave you. And so, okay, and this is very important when it comes to creative rights, but also loaning of money is harmless without child trafficking, human trafficking, ritual abuse, and depriving people of the basic needs for them to recover themselves financially. Now, people learn this, you see, the Rothschilds, and the story about the Rothschilds, that they were living, I think, in Germany, in a small town, I think it was the 1500s, and they were disincluded from being able to trade, simply because they were Jews. Okay, so first of all, anti-Semitism did not begin with Rockefellers and the Rothschild, but they were unable to trade. So what they did, kind of like what the Medicis did, they invented the currency. They learned the tricks of trade, and they became the bank. and they basically subjugated royal families through becoming the bank. And now um, the more people understand that, how should I say that? If you go back to the Rothschilds, they were subjected to the implications of having debt. United States was formed because it was either win or die. Okay, they didn't want to be enslaved because they were owning money. Okay, and debt has to make sense. If a person can't rehabilitate themselves, or the will to live is taken from them, then there was no loan. There was attempt to enslave the person that ends up with those that try to enslave suffering the consequences of the slaves. That's unfortunately in many cases what happens also to the Jews, but to any family, Jewish or not. It happens to the Africans. Okay, they enslaved white people, and then what? The whites learned from them, so they took slaves from Africa to. Okay, and then they abolished slavery during the Civil War. But that was, yes, slavery did not begin with white people enslaving black people necessarily, particularly not when the origin of humanity is black. But it's Jesus being black, or I even heard some people say the Vikings were black. I don't know. I don't if that is true. Okay, so if everybody was black, then then those were the people that were enslaving people. Okay. And now, but they want to off-white. I'm like, off-white is no good. Off slavery. And but this is the point of the issue. People talk about money, loaning money. The problem is not loaning money. The problem is human rights. A person, and this is the point. A person can be in debt and is still entitled to all human rights, dignity, the ability to rehabilitate themselves financially, to not have their will to live taken away from them. Many people committed suicide because of debt. What is founded on slavery deteriorates. Even I need to go, for example, to dentist. Most dentists are corrupt. Unfortunately so. Because to get the certification, they had to participate in so and so. They had to agree with the fluoride and the this and the that. And what happens with that is that, yes, I did not make those corruptions myself, nor did I contribute knowingly to those corruptions. But when I need to go to the dentist, I'm like, I don't, I don't even know where there's a decent one. And so what is happening is that when people try to enslave people, try to put people in debt, it's harming the Saturn things. And that's very simply put the skulls and bones of those that enslave, bone marrow. It's the bone structure. And so Without human trafficking, organ harvesting, child trafficking, yes, enslavement, loaning money is harmless. It's an investment, is a donation, and a donation is an investment. On both cases, you don't know if the other party will be able to return the favor. If you invest in a business, the business grows, you cut yourself the dividends, the business pays the loan, and sometimes they even want to appreciate you more because you gave them the start to open the business. That's okay. What is an Indian gift? An Indian gift, if they come to, they need to sleep or they need to spend the night at an Indian family, they're given a blanket, they're given, okay, but all these things. When they're done, they return the gift so that the host can host another person. That's an Indian gift. It's a gift that a person later returns the gift that they got. Now, what if they can't return? What if something happened to the blankets? What, you're going to slaughter them? You're going to kill them? And this is why we need to think of an investment as a donation. And a donation is an investment, because if I donate money, let's say somebody asks me money. Okay, they ask for me for money. Now, maybe I can give them that money. But what is the bigger issue of why they ask the money? Because I want to give a person the biggest contribution that I can give to the person that I can afford, and not a small one. Okay, it just makes sense. If the person has been contributed greatly by me, then it means that I tended to the things, very likely what this person needs and what my issues are. They have something in common. Okay, for example, Inuit society, they have the minerals. What's their problem? Food. Food prices. What's another problem? The housing. Because of the cold, it's challenging to build enough space for people. There's a sense of community, but the individual sovereign is being compromised in the architectonic structure. I have the same problems. Okay, so let's say I had money, and Inuit people would ask for, I don't know, something that will help them build houses that have more houses per individual, okay, houses per individual, and something that can connect them, and to transport the goods so that they can have good food prices. Yes, then I would look into the ethical sourcing of the food, the building material, the rights for the people that are supposed to build. Okay, all these things matter, so that I give it the best form of contribution, and I don't know if they are able to pay me back, but attended to a problem that I also deal with, even if I didn't think about it. So person comes to you, let's say they ask for money, you try to see what the problem is, what's the best solution you can offer for this person, and they say they want only this money, you can decide, you can give them that money. Maybe they can pay you back, maybe they cannot. Maybe you don't expect them to pay you back then, but they do something with that money and they make a profit, and then they return to you the favor with something that you actually need that money couldn't buy. And so all these slavery-based mindsets, they are the thing that makes laundering money. They are the things that make loaning money, laundering money. And so, if you want to tend to the actual problem, well, the problem is, what is possible to do for a person if they are in debt? And this is how you abolish slavery, because you understand, even if person is in debt, is not possible to take away the dignity, the right to life, their housing, their food, their access to resources. Those that get that don't get the anti-Semitism or the anti towards their banking heritage. Those that don't deteriorate the very thing that is associated with Saturn. Okay, anatomically, that is the bone structure, the bone marrow. Okay, and the hairs and so on. Hairs, nails, and so on. So this is also, Saturn also rules rituals. So if there are rituals done to enslave people, those that do those rituals end up in they end up creating their own demise. And this is all because of child trafficking and human trafficking. That's the objective, okay? If they want to enslave people and take away the energy and so on and so forth, and all the tricks that they try to do that eventually end up in the demise of the people that do that. The people that are ex-Satanists will tell you, and there are testimonies of people that were ex-Satanists, and they will tell you why they are ex-Satanists. Okay, but they said no, the selling, when they talk about selling the soul, it's not possible to sell the soul. But when those actions are committed under humongous amount of drugs, then this causes a chain of issues. Saturn on the world degree. Okay, and again we hear about the banking, the Vatican, the Brazilians, they call them. So, the debt, the money. It's like you can't really. Let's just say it that way. You can't do away with the banking problem with the Madonna horse symptom complex. You can't do away with the banking problem without doing away with the ritual abuse and the child trade and the organ harvesting and the human trafficking and sex trafficking, courtesan problem. Okay, but because then you're not going to actually reach something that is actually standing the test of time. Now, because the Brazilians, if you ask why do you call them Brazilians, I saw a person that talks about them and call them Brazilians. Of course, we're talking about the Khazarians, but it's not just the Khazarians. They haven't invented that. Jews haven't invented that. I don't know why Brazilians. I haven't invented that. But the thing is, they wanted to for YouTube not to censor their videos. That was the issue. But the thing is that when it comes to the practices, there are also indigenous practices. The rituals, there are also indigenous rituals. Okay, Sedna's father tried to traffic her for having some psychic powers. Eventually, Sedna drowned. She got the psychic powers. He got nothing. The entire village went into hunger. And they had to appease Sedna. She died already. It's as old as the Inuits. She didn't want to be trafficked. Now, in a society where a woman was not free, then neither are the Masons. Okay, the free men are not free. They are enslaved by MK Ultra mind control webs and personality cults. And practically, okay, but people think, oh, that the effort that they put into enslaving people is more than to do the work themselves. The decolonization was because it was as fucking expensive to colonize, to take away the liberties of people. Now, it was possible because those predispositions of colonization within those societies around the world already existed. In the tribe society, if people are colonized within their tribe, then comes the external colonizers and people can't discern. You know, if China would come right now to the United States, would not declare its arrival, the Americans wouldn't pay attention. They already got total surveillance. They already got mind control. They already got targeted individuals. They already got death in concentration camps for the homeless. They already got Chinese salary for okay, and the equivalent of the village uniting so that the person can finish a degree is with the people uniting, and that is already very likely beginning to happen. We don't hear about it in the news because revolutions are usually not televised. And that's the thing about these banking elites. If you live in an archaic world of chosen people, chosen ones, the elected few, which are unelected. In Israel, when we were doing volunteering, they say they picked you with, you know, the thing that they pluck the hair. Okay, if you do your eyebrows, say "Bacharnu etchem bepinzeta." Okay, they picked the people like they pluck the hair. Okay, what they don't tell you is that when you pluck your hair, is basically what the hair you pluck is the hair you remove from the brows, and that's the Freemasons. They were picked. They were the chosen ones to be sacrificed into doing the dirty job of trying to enslave other people, thinking they can get away with that, but then being discarded. And they were raised in these quite horrid, let's just say they had a terrible upbringing, and that's an understatement. So what we come to is exactly the notion that, you see, this Saturn day soul hour, soul is ruling Leo, that is opposing Aquarius, and this is exactly the issue where the limitation of sovereignty under the excuse of debt, so that people can further harm people's desire to live, has implications. on a global scale. We're seeing the WEF is being exposed, Opus Dei being exposed, the Vatican being exposed, and the Weld family is being exposed. And the reason begins to reason, okay, what people call, oh, this is a conspiracy theory, that this, that. Well, no, if you found both sides, then you found both Bolshevism and capitalism, then you found both, okay? But this is, but that is not even the question. The question is the fact that is allowed to take away dignities and human rights under the excuse of slavery. That's just the same old child and human trafficking and sex trafficking, that when it runs the economy, no country is free, no person is free, and particularly the chosen people are not so free. Mainly not because to get into a position where they do that, they were grown in a lot of torture.